Thought she wasn't gonna watch it.
Herself came out to LA, came to the fight, but Crawford just walked by and said, "I thought you weren't gonna watch it, but clearly your mind has changed."
Yeah, I came here to support.
Yeah, I came here to support a Terence Crawford, and Canelo Alvarez had their first mini press conference ahead of their September fight, but Jaron Ennis stole the headlines after he attacked and hit Crawford. Jaron Ennis feels so cheated as to why Terence Crawford ducked him for these years and is going ahead to fight Canelo Alvarez.
I think you gotta lean more towards Canelo because, like I said before, he been pitting big guys out and down, and Canelo not even really a 68 pounder. He probably really should be at 60 maybe, and he been hurting these guys. I think he be dropping these guys and things like that. So, and them guys be way bigger than him come fight night. I know that for sure. They be probably close to.
Jaron Ennis long chased a fight with Terence Crawford, but will now have to watch painfully his rival take on Canelo Alvarez. Instead, Andis is a precocious talent and current International Boxing Federation belt holder in the welterweight division. He came of age after Crawford became the undisputed champion at 147 by beating Errol Spence in July 2023. Jaron Ennis long chased a fight with Terence Crawford, but will now have to watch painfully his rival take on Canelo Alvarez. Instead, Andis is a precocious talent and current International Boxing Federation belt holder in the welterweight division. He came of age after Crawford became the undisputed champion at 147 by beating Errol Spence in July 2023.
And he dropping those guys like that, so I don't know. It's gonna be a great fight. The fans want to see it, so so be it. I think Crawford should take a warm-up fight, at like 60 or like at least at 60, just to get his body, the feeling of somebody a little bit bigger, and things like that. I know when you go up a weight, you gotta, develop that power and not develop the power, but like put that muscle on and be heavy and things like that. So he might not want to take a fight because he's trying to build up right now, but I think he should just to stay sharp and that way he don't have like a long layoff or anything like that.
Bud's last fight, a world title victory at 154 pounds over Israel Madrimov. It seems the 37-year-old has left the welterweight division behind for good. Crawford has long targeted a further weight class jump to take on undisputed super middleweight champion Canelo. And finally, this past week, that fight was locked in for September. Speaking to YSM Sports Media, Andis initially didn't pick a winner in the fight and gave Crawford as much chance as Canelo of getting his hand raised. It's a good fight, a 5,050 fight. And I guess it's a fight everybody wants to see how difficult.
Well, Canelo's going to run over him. What's your thoughts on that fight?
It's a good fight, 50-50 fight, and I guess it's a fight that everybody wants to see. So, it's a good fight.
He was then asked about the challenge Crawford faces by jumping up in weight. It's going to be a little difficult. He's going to have to put on an extra 14 pounds. So he could be slower. You've got to add more weight and gain more muscle, so it's harder. But we'll see on fight night. Next, he was asked what Crawford would need to do on the night to win, having previously explained it would be a difficult night for Bud. Be smart, take his time box and move. Don't sit there and let him drop bombs on him. Finally, he offered up a game plan for Canelo's route to victory.
Difficult is it to make that jump from, he only had one fight at 54, so like 147, 154 to 168 pounds.
You said how difficult is it?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be a little difficult because you got to, what are you going to have to put on, like an extra 14 pounds? So he might be a little slower, or who knows, he could be faster. I don't know. Like, it's just, you got to add more weight and gain more muscle and stuff like that, moving up in weight and things like that. So it's a little harder, but I don't know. We'll see on fight night how he'll look.
Feel like Canelo will be pressing everything behind the stick, catching him trying to pull out, pull back, cut the ring off, things like that. He is going to have to bully the smaller guy. Don't let him dictate, nothing show him. That's your weight class, Andis, one of boxing's most exciting rising stars. After winning his fight against Stanionis last month amid the build-up, he found time to weigh in on the Canelo versus Crawford hype train. And he's not exactly handing out blind endorsements. In a recent interview with Fight Hub TV, Andis raised a red flag about Crawford moving up 2 full weight classes. I think Crawford should take a warm-up fight at 160 just to feel what it's like against a bigger guy, he said. It's one of those situations where you try to punch on like the smaller man's like arms, you might have to bully him. You might have had to bully the smaller guy, you know. Don't let him dictate nothing, you know, show him that's your weight class. Boots didn't hold back when talking about what Crawford's up against. Canelo's been at that weight for a while. He's been pinning big guys out. Crawford's smaller, and Canelo has been dropping dudes that come in at like 200 pounds on fight night. The reality is Alvarez may not be a natural super middleweight either, but he's made a habit of hurting and finishing fighters much bigger than Crawford. That's not lost on people who know how the game works.
What does Terence Crawford have to do to be successful in that fight?
Be smart. Take his time. Box and move. Yeah, don't sit there and let him try to bomb on him.
What about Canelo Alvarez?
I feel like Canelo going to press him. Had to press him. Everything behind the stick, you know, and catch him, trying to pull back, anything, you know.
Crawford has revealed he is currently well above the 168 pounds super middleweight limit and is in fact 186 pounds, despite having previously won titles as low as lightweight and 135 pounds. However, Jaron Boots Andis out of Envy has predicted a loss for Crawford regardless, while Ennis and many other boxing professionals think the Mexican will reign supreme. Jaron Ennis's father, Boosie Andis, has now given his verdict on the showdown, and it's a surprising take, and his senior reflected on Alvarez's latest outing against William Skull. Alvarez earned a unanimous decision win against Skull on May 3rd in a rather lackluster showdown. Andis thinks Alvarez gets frustrated when a fighter moves too much in front of him, he told YSM Sports Media.
Is it one of those situations where you try to punch on like the smaller man's like arms?
You gonna have to bully him. You gonna have to bully the smaller guy. You know, don't let him dictate nothing. You know, show him that's your weight class.
Mean when reminded that Canelo Alvarez has a granite chin, and has said he hasn't been punched by Terence, though I know he's been in there with some great punchers, but the punch has got to be placed right. He added that not too many opponents have attacked Canelo Alvarez to the body, which Terence Crawford might do that could see Alvarez drop his guard, leaving Bud with the opportunity to get a knockout up top. However, Jaron Ennis versus Teofimo Lopez has been spoken about recently, with Eddie Hearn confirming to FightHype.com, "We are in negotiations." For Jaron to fight Teofimo, it now appears these negotiations have not been straightforward, with Lopez accusing Ennis of ducking him.
Yeah, you brought up, and this is just a follow-up on here, you brought up one main point that a lot of fans have been bringing up. It's like, what happens when Canelo hits him? Because he's been hurting, like you mentioned, bigger guys.
Yeah.
Crawford hasn't been fighting guys that are 200 pounds, 190 pounds on fight night.
Yeah, right. And I think Crawford should take a warm-up fight, you know, at like 60, or like at least at 60, just to get his body.
In a message to Jaron Ennis and his father, Bozy Lopez did not hold back. Boots, if you're on here and your father's on here, Bozy, listen to me. You bozos, how do you claim yourself from Philly? And you don't want to fight the best man, y'all putting Philly down. And Philly, just one shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles for winning the chip. Come on, bro. I don't think you're from Philly. Any questions? Yeah, no Boots fight. Then no Boots fight. They said no, added Lopez. The idea of Lopez moving up to welterweight has been discussed previously, with Turkey Alalshik speaking positively about the potential showdown. Andis has spoken about his desire to collect the remaining welterweight titles currently held by Mario Barrios and Brian Norman Jr.
Running.
Same like a...
You told me that Terence Crawford and Canelo was a 50-50 fight. You told me Terence Crawford had a chance.
Right.
Me, I was leaning towards Canelo because of the size.
Right.
I want to apologize.
Yeah.
Because after watching that fight, I see what you were talking about.
Yeah, I'm telling you, yeah, movement. That movement all sets everybody, man. And what would have with Canelo, he get frustrated. You see, he walking to you and all that. If he can't touch you, you know what I mean? That's it. You know what I mean?
Now, did watching that make you feel like Terence Crawford has better than a 50% chance after watching? I know
the table as he is preparing to face 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao on July 19th. Meanwhile, tensions remain between Team Ennis and Team Norman following the collapse of earlier negotiations. Teofimo Lopez versus Jaron Ennis would be an intriguing contest, with both showing their abilities last time out. Andis dazzled in his win over Istanonis. The Philly fighter has great footwork, punch placement, and fight-ending power, all qualities he has shown in abundance.
against Lara back in the day. But
right.
now this is supposed to be a new and improved Canelo.
Yeah. I think, like I said, Terence got a great chance to beat him, man. You know what I mean? Terence can box, Terence can move, Terence can punch. You know what I mean? Terence ain't gonna be doing like Skull. Terence gonna fight you. You know what I mean? He's Terence from the street, man. You know what I mean? He knows what to do. You know what I mean? When it comes down to it. And I think he's gonna wind up frustrating Canelo. You know what I mean?
Lopez appears to rise to the challenge in the bigger fights as proven by his impressive wins against Vasyl Lomachenko and Josh Taylor in his most recent win against Arnold Burbasha Jr. He once again demonstrated that impressive sharpness in his work that had been missing from some of his more recent performances. It is no secret that Ennis struggles to make the 147 pounds limit, and there had been talk of a move up to junior middleweight prior to the contest, with Steaminess Andis decided to stick around at welterweight in order to add more belts to his collection, but after successfully unifying the division against Steaminess, it is unlikely he will add a third 147 pounds title anytime soon.
You beat Boots by unanimous decision. Yeah, I'm a dog him, for sure. I'm a dog that boy. They never faced a fighter like me. No more backflips, protect your knees.
World Boxing Organization champion Brian Norman Jr. is facing Jin Sasaki, and Mario Barrios is taking on the 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao. There are talks regarding and facing WBO junior welterweight champion Lopez, but Hearn wonders how wise it would be to try and make the 147 limit again for such a contest. I think the big question is whether Boots stays at 147. If I'm honest, Hearn told Boxing Scene the Steaminess performance was great. The kind of medical stats weren't as great, but it's difficult because I think Boots feels like he's going to perform so much better up at 154. The reason that he wanted to stay there originally is to unify, and now he's done it. It's a tough decision. We like the Lopez fight, but I think if he stays at 147, he'll fight Teofimo Lopez. And if he doesn't, obviously, you'll see him move to 154 with Brian Norman fighting coming up in July out here in Japan, and Barrios fighting Pacquiao. The unifications aren't really there.
If you're on here and your father's on here, Bozy, listen to me. You bozos. How you claim yourself from Philly and you don't want to fight the best? Man, y'all putting Philly down and Philly just won. Shout out to Philadelphia Eagles for winning the chip. Come on, bro. I don't think you from Philly. Any questions? Yeah, no Boots fight then. No Boots fight. They said no.
What happened with Boots is a bit of a one-off. Really, he continued. I say he's not money motivated. Of course he is. But he's all about legacy, and he's prepared to do that to his body to make 147, but for the unification. So the Tiao fight is a little bit different, but it's a big fight, so we'll have to make a decision soon. Andis hired a nutritionist and an aide to help him make the weight more efficiently for his bout with Stenonis. Andis looked huge on fight night, far bigger than Steaminess, and dominated him. However, Hearn revealed that making the weight was still a struggle. It was probably not as bad as the Karen Chukazian fight, but I think a lot of people point out during the week how tight he looks at the weight. He said it wasn't like he was dead on the scales for Stenonis, not at all. But it's a massive ask to keep repeatedly bringing himself down to 147.
Teofimo Lopez has mentioned that a potential fight with you and him may be down the road. I think Turkey's even said that. Just overall, your thoughts on that, Jaron?
Like I said before, I'm not worried about nobody else outside of Andis. I'm locked in on him. I'm just locked in on him. I'm zoned in on Steaminess. I'm here to collect belts at 147 and show out. And that's what I'm going to do.
And get off. And it's not just can you make it and perform at your best. And I think he feels even in the Steaminess fight that wasn't his best, most powerful version of himself, which is quite bizarre because I thought it was unbelievable. But this is what you're going to get from him at 154. And in those weights, you're just going to get someone with a lot more power, even though he's got it at 147. As for Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez's former opponent Caleb Plant has now given his take on Crawford's chances. Bud is making a notable weight jump to 168 pounds to fight against Canelo. The consensus is that it could be too big a step up for Crawford. Plant, who lost to Canelo via 11th round technical knockout in 2021, says that there are weight classes for a reason, but also explains that Crawford is a special boxer.
I figured it being so close to the fight too as well. You're kind of like tunnel vision when it comes to your opponent. And the only reason why I ask is because, you know, Turkey had mentioned that if Teo gets past Barboza, we could see a fight with you and Teofimo. I know Top Rank tried to make that fight as well. So I was just curious now, like, what do you think of Teofimo as a fighter?
Yeah, good fighter. You know, good fighter. That's about it.